that includes nearly all laser sights, electronic sights, and rifle scopes. Just register your product for a free set of batteries each year at crimsontrace.com.
Welcome to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, where there's more to talk about than shooting. There's reloading and hunting and self-defense, too.
Well, you know by now that there are times when I like to go gun geeky. I like to get into the weeds sometimes, and we talk about reloading, we talk about cartridges, we talk about twist rate and ballistic coefficients and sectional density and bullets and all the rest of it. Talk about optics, and it's just fun. Part of the deal is, we like to shoot, and we like to hunt, and we like the cool guns, but frankly, for some of us, we kind of like the esoterica of it all. We like the minutia. We like to dive deep into this stuff. And I mean, there's probably no end to how far you can go. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting pretty deep, and then I talk to somebody and I get left and going, whoa. I don't know where they're going, but I'm just not equipped for that. But it's fun. It really is. And I've been a bullet digger all my life. I mean, when I shoot a critter, I like to dig a bullet out. If I can recover it, I like that. Although I will admit, I have through the years moved to a different philosophy. I do like the two-hole concept of making a hole on both sides so the bullet goes all the way through. We'll talk about that in just a second here. Joining me to talk about this and who knows what else, my good friend Ron Spomer, gun writer, hunting writer, guy who's hunted all over the world. Hey, Ron, how are you, sir?
Hello, Mr. Gresham. I am fine. How you doing?
Good. How's life off the grid?
Life off the grid is a challenge, but it's a very satisfying one. We got the winter wood supply in, and we're hunkered down now, ready for it.
Yeah, Ron was living in the big city, and then, what was it, almost 2 years now ago you moved?
Well, just a year ago and a few months. So,
okay.
But yeah, last year we moved in late summer. So
you really are, in fact, off the grid. You don't have power coming to the place, do you?
No, not a bit. The nearest power is a mile away, and it costs so much to bring a line in. It's cheaper just to run solar, and they had some solar in already, so we've just upgraded it. We've got good firewood supply here, and we have a wind turbine. So, yeah, we're pumping it out.
You got critters walking around. You can always shoot one, and you can have something to eat.
Well, we have already done that. The freezer is full.
Good deal. Congrats.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. Now, for those, before we start out, let's tell people where they can read some of the stuff that you're writing. Obviously, you got Ron Spomer Outdoors, and it's RONSPOMER, RonSpomerOutdoors.com. You've written for pretty much all the hunting and gun magazines, it seems like. At least it feels that way to me.
Yeah. Over the years, there's been plenty of them. Right now, I'm writing a lot for Sporting Classics, American Hunter, Sports Afield, Outdoor Life, doing a lot of stuff on their website as well. Outdoor news publications in the upper Minnesota, Wisconsin area. Ducks Unlimited, several more, but those are kind of the primary ones now.
You slacker.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so one of the things you've been writing about, which is I have found fascinating. It's funny because I had a guy ask me this just yesterday. We were talking about rifles and cartridges. He said, well, I got all these new cool things. But he says, but I'm only going to shoot out to about 300 yards. Do I need these new things? And my answer was, no.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, don't.
No. I mean, yes, the high ballistic coefficient and the 6.5 Creedmoor and all that is fabulous. When you get out past, what would you figure, 600 yards?
Yeah, 6 is where it really starts to make a big difference. You can get some advantages at 500, but for the average hunter shooting out to 300 yards, it really doesn't matter if you're using a high BC bullet with an extremely long pointed nose and a long boat tail, or if you're just using a standard bullet. There's really not that much difference in drop or even drift for big game hunting. If you were trying to pick off a squirrel in the head or something, yes.
Yeah, if you're shooting prairie dogs or something, then we wind drift.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, to be fair, if you're shooting at 400 yards and you got, say, 15 or 20 mile an hour crosswind, the difference could be as much as 6 or 8 inches in wind drift, which could be significant.
Yeah, that's where it could be. And I always tell folks that. I say, don't worry so much about your drops, because these days gravity is as consistent as it ever was. So if your bullet drops so many inches at 300 yards or 600 yards, it's always going to drop that much. But when the wind blows, is it 10? Is it 5? Is it 15? Is it 20? Makes a big difference. And you just cannot guesstimate the wind all that accurately. So I would always tell folks to err on the side of having a better, higher ballistics coefficient bullet just for that wind deflection.
Yeah, because if we have a variation in gravity, we have bigger problems to worry about.
Climate change has got nothing over on this one.
That's right. When you go flying off the earth, okay, who cares about holdover? All right.
More like hold on.
Yeah. One of the things you've been writing about, which I like, is that you go back and look at some of the older cartridges and comparing, because everybody's, and look, it's fun to talk about the 6.5, Creedmoor, the 6.5 PRC, and they are cool calibers, primarily because they have, honestly, it's because they have faster twist rates on the barrels, which allows you to use the higher BC bullets, blah, blah, bblah, blah, blah. But you go back and say, well, look, let's go take a look at the 25-06 and compare it. Or the 270 Winchester, which, has been around since the 20s.
Yeah.
What's your takeaway? What's your bottom line on doing all these comparisons?
Well, the bottom line is to put things in perspective, I think. So many guys get wrapped up in this wonderful new cartridge, and they are great, but really they're nothing new. Most of them have been out there in one form or another. I mean, the 6.5 Creedmoor, my gosh, you can match that up with a 6x57 Mauser, the 6.5 Swede, the 260 Remington. They're just all kinds of 6.5s, but we've never been a big 6.5 country over here other than that 264 Winchester Magnum, which kind of blew up in their faces because of the barrel burning idea. Not that it was as bad, I think, as they claim it was.
Well, I agree. I don't think it was ever as bad as they said. And honestly, there aren't that many people who are going to shoot 2,000 or 3,000 rounds out of their 264 Win Mag. Now one of the things that has changed, Ron, it's interesting, is that if you are into long-range shooting competition, not long-range hunting, long-range shooting competition, you are, in fact, shooting a lot of ammo. And it is very possible with magnums to burn out a barrel in a season or two.
Oh, gosh. I talk to guys who burn a barrel out about every 3 months.
Holy cow.
They're actually swapping barrels out that often. So certainly, if you're in a long-range competition shooting and you want to win, you're going to pull out all the stops. And that's where the 6.5 Creedmoor and maybe the PRC now will come on a little bit stronger, too. You're adding about 200 feet per second to the Creedmoor, and I think it's worth it. Helps a lot.
Yeah, it's
Makes
a nice
great hunting cartridge as well.
Yeah, it is. It's I got a buddy who used to shoot at Perry. He said, look, barrels are consumables. It's like changing the tires on your car. You burn them up, you get a new one, don't worry about it.
Yep. Yeah, it's just that most of us don't have the wrench to take the lug nuts off of a barrel.
Yeah, but the guys who do that all the time, they do. And they think, they really do. They don't think anything about swapping out barrels. Tell you what I want to do. I'll take a quick break here. We're talking with Ron Spomer. When we come back, I want to talk about bullet selection and any difference in, we have these different high-performance controlled expansion bullets. Has it changed what we should be looking at in terms of choosing a cartridge for hunting? If you'd like to join us, 866-TALK-GUN. We'll be right back.
FN, the world's most battle-proven firearms. You want to reach for history, for greatness. So reach for the FN57, a 5.7 millimeter pistol built with the DNA of over a century of legendary FN firearms. And now, it's within reach at your local firearms dealer. The FN57 is the perfect combination of accuracy and stopping power. FN, the world's most battle-proven firearms.
Since 1994, Crimson Trace has defined and built the laser sighting category through design, innovation, and performance. With an obsession to create best-in-class electro-optics, Crimson Trace now offers a full line of lasers, lights, reflex sights, red dot sights, and rifle scopes for tactical and sport applications. Most Crimson Trace products include free batteries for life, and all scopes are backed by a lifetime warranty. Find yours at your local dealer or at crimsontrace.com.
Mental health and guns. At Walk the Talk America, we are working with both the mental health community and the gun industry. Created by a gun industry veteran, Walk the Talk America seeks to raise awareness and create change through suicide prevention and firearm safety without legislation. We strive to eliminate the prejudice that firearms and mental health face. For more information and to support Walk the Talk America, please visit walkthetalkamerica.org.
Smith & Wesson announces a new rebate for the popular M&P 9 Shield and M&P 380 Shield EZ pistols. Qualifying purchases made between October 14th and December 8th are eligible for a $50 prepaid card. Terms and conditions apply. Visit smith-wesson.com/shield 2019 for complete details. More than 3 million people have chosen the M&P Shield family of pistols for their personal protection needs. Shouldn't you?
We're talking with Ron Spomer from RonSpomerOutdoors.com, gun writer, hunting writer, hunted all over the world. Ron, over the last, 20 years, maybe, actually longer than that, we've been seeing the real growth of the controlled expansion bullet. It just performs differently from the basic cup and, draw type of bullets.
Yeah.
I have had kind of taken on the position that it changes the old advice of what is an effective caliber for a particular category of game. If you say, okay, what is effective for deer? There was a time when we would say maybe even a 243 would have been marginal. And you would never have recommended a 223. Never.
Right.
Just out of the question. And when you look at it, and you get to shoot all this stuff, what's your take on that? I mean, does this make sense that we can actually kind of change what we think is an effective caliber based on these newer, better bullets?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I have really noticed that. Of course, the partition in 1948 was the first, what we would call a premium controlled expansion bullet. And what all the bullet makers were looking for once we got the high-velocity cartridges was a bullet that would stand up to those high pressures when it landed. And they were breaking up and falling apart. You've heard all the stories. So once people started catching on to that and realizing this new partition with that wall in the middle that kept a bunch of lead in the back, continued driving and didn't stop partway through the animal and all those sorts of problems. You then come up with a trophy bonded bullet and different kinds of bonded bullets from different manufacturers. The Barnes all-copper bullet comes out with a hollow nose, and that thing is retaining almost 100% of its weight every time. So you increase penetration, and that's what Nosler was looking for when he invented his partition. And you had the A-frame, and now you've got everybody seems to have a bonded bullet now. So I think it's just done wonders, and it's made all of our cartridges that much more effective.
Well,
and
in point of fact,
penetration is the big thing.
You know that I just was out hunting with the 257 Weatherby, which I just bought, my first time I've ever had one of those. I've known about it forever. Incredible cartridge. I mean, you talk about a barrel burner, but I'm only going to shoot it like 10 times a year, so it's probably going to last a long time. But what I did, I want to just try this one on you, see what you think. And maybe it's more of a mental exercise than anything, but I looked at all the different bullet choices, and there are a lot of different 25 caliber bullets out there. Not really much in the way of high BC bullets yet. We got that Burger, but I'm still not ready to trust the Burger bullet for hunting yet. Just to me, okay? I went the other way. I went with the 80 grain Barnes TTSX all copper bullet going 4,000 feet per second. And you think, and I know people are thinking, well, that's crazy. That bullet's going to blow up. But the Barnes all copper bullets don't do that.
No, they do not blow up. You're going to definitely shoot through him, though.
You are going to shoot through him.
Yeah, I have worked with Barnes since the early days when it was still the original Barnes X bullet.
Right.
And I have found them to be pretty darn consistent and reliable. And boy, talk about penetration. So my standard with a bullet, if it's a Barnes X or any of the copies these days, the all-copper bullets, is that you can step down 1 or 2 steps in your traditional weights and get as much penetration, if not more.
That's what I was going to ask you. And you're getting more velocity.
Yeah, you increase your velocity. And I think that causes a little more damage in the animal. I'm not a big believer in knockdown power. I just don't think it's real unless you hit the spinal column or the brain or central nervous system. But you push a bullet through an animal that fast, and whether or not hydrostatic or hydrodynamic shock is a real thing, it seems to have an effect. It just slows that animal down faster or it dies sooner or something is going on. But I definitely want that deeper penetration so that I know that I am maximizing my tissue destruction to the vital organs all the way through that animal and leaving a hole in the backside for blood trailing. Because I don't care what bullet you use and where you hit your animal, they are an individual thing, and you cannot predict the perfect outcome every time. You may need to do some tracking. I think it's an essential skill for hunters is to be able to trail up a deer or an elk or anything else. So I like that big hole on the backside to let some of that fluid out so I can find the animal if I have to.
Yeah, I was doing a Wyoming antelope hunt a few years ago, and we got out there and I had a tag, for a buck, and they said, "Well, do you want any doe tags?" I said, "Well, I don't know what's the deal." They said, "Well, yeah, you can get up to 5 doe tags, and they're $25 a piece." And I said, "Well, give me 5, right?" I mean, I love antelope meat. Okay, I'm there. Yes. I was shooting in fact, as a matter of fact, I was shooting a Ruger #1 in 6mm Remington with Barnes bullets, all copper bullets.
Hey. Yep.
Could not get a bullet to stop in an antelope until I finally got one turned and shot it from basically quartering from the rear ham to the front shoulder and caught it just underneath the skin. But even with a little 6mm Remington, those bullets are zipping through, and it was as though you had yanked the legs out from under them. They were going down so fast.
Yeah. That's kind of been my experience. I went to Africa for the first time, and I used an X bullet, and the outfitter said, "What the heck is this?" He just had never heard of it. He was pretty leery. By the time I left, he was saying, "Where can I get some of these?"
All right. So the question now is, can we go down a caliber because of our better bullets and get less recoil, which allows us to shoot better and hit them in the right place?
Oh, absolutely. I think you're smack on it right here, Tom. I mean, I think that's one of the big reasons that 6.5 has taken off as a hunting cartridge. Of course, it was designed for target shooting, long range, and everybody's caught on to this idea that you can shoot it so precisely with these good, high-quality bullets that you don't have to mess around with 300 Win Mag recoil anymore. And a lot of guys who still don't believe it, and that's fine. That's the wonderful thing about this country is we've got choices, and we're allowed to make them.
And we don't have to have only one gun, thank goodness.
Gosh, no. I hate to have to be stuck with that, but yeah, you're absolutely on it. Yeah, the bullets that are such high quality, you're going to get the penetration. The bullet's going to retain 80 to 100% of its weight. So you don't have the old problems we did with the cup and core bullets where they would break apart and you would lose that penetration. The first sheep I ever shot, I used a bullet that was a cup and core. And it came apart, and it only got into one lung on that animal instead of going through both of them. And once I examined that and picked through it, I thought, oh, boy, I've got to make a change here. Yep. And that's when I really started paying attention to these higher quality bullets.
So as we kind of look at where we are now, and you get to hear, as I do, kind of what's coming, and I think people are going to be interested because 2 things I see coming. I'm going to bounce this off of you and see what else you're hearing. One is I think we're going to have new, as though we need them, but it's going to be cool. We're going to have new cartridges that basically revolve around having a faster twist rate to be able to use the high BC bullets. And we're going to have new cartridges in some of the old calibers, caliber being just the diameter. We're going to see some new things like in the 270 world.
Yep.
And cool new bullets. What are you hearing?
Yeah,
without giving away this, I know there are things you can't talk about because we all have our NDAs, right?
Yeah, right. No, but I think you're right on exactly what's going to happen. And I have been hoping for some of this in the 25s because we've neglected our 25 calibers. 257 Roberts, that 257 Weatherby of yours, and especially the 25-06 Remington.
Yes.
Man, I mean, those are great, low recoiling, fast shooting. They just need a little more bullet twist. So the problem with, of course, offering a much longer bullet with a high BC in those standard calibers is that most rifles out there won't stabilize them. They're not twisted fast enough.
Right.
And most folks aren't going to go out and get a new barrel. So someone's going to come up with a new 25 Creedmoor or a 25 PRC or one of these cases that's designed for the fast twist, and they're going to make a new one. And that's going to become the new hot 25. And then there's going to be a new hot 27 coming out. And they're going to have the fast twist barrels, probably 1.8, 1.7.5. Right. You're starting to push 160 grain bullets in a 277. And I am really looking forward to it. 130 grain bullets and maybe even a little higher in a 25-06. I'm on it.
You know, and
Yeah,
you mentioned 25-06, and you and I both love the old classic 257 Roberts, but the reality is, if I'm recommending to somebody today to get a 25, I'm going to tell them to get a 25-06 because you're going to be able to find ammo for it.
Right.
And it does everything the Roberts does plus 200 feet per second.
Yeah, exactly. It'll fit in your standard action, and you can squeeze a Roberts into a short, but some of the magazines are a little bit short for it, especially if you want to start stretching those bullets out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially what's holding back the old cartridges. They've got the horsepower. They just don't have the overall design with those faster twist rates. Now,
to be fair, if you want to, you can rebarrel whatever caliber you have and say I've got a 270. And if you want to say I want a faster twist rate, you can rebarrel it and have a barrel put on that has a faster twist rate. Now you're going to have to hand load your ammo with those higher BC bullets, but you can accomplish that. You can get there with that rifle you've had all along.
Yeah, and for anybody who hand loads and likes to play around with guns and ammo the way we do, it's just an added treat and is more incentive to get that particular one because you're setting it up yourself, and it's so much satisfaction in tweaking your firearm and especially building your hand loads. And then when you get that improved performance that you can brag about, you've got something to hang your hat on.
All right, give me 45 seconds on how much have optics improved over the last 10 or 20 years?
Oh, boy. You know, Tom, honestly don't think they have improved all that much. I think the quality of the build has gone up that much.
Oh, okay.
You know, optics is kind of like gravity. You know, the light is light, and it does what it does. And all the best we can do is maximize the light transmission. You can't make it brighter. There's too many guys who think you gather light with a big objective lens and a big scope.
But you can make the mechanics better. You can make the mechanical part better.
Yes, you can make the mechanics better. So, yes, the optical grinds and the qualities of the lenses, they had that nailed down a while back. They can use lasers now to make sure they're getting it even more perfect, but I don't think that's what holds us back in our rifle scopes, for instance. You know, it's not like I always tell guys, you don't have to count the moons on Jupiter. You just have to put a crosshair on the animal and make sure it's there every shot.
There it is. Ron Spomer, thank you so much. Always fun having you here, my friend.
Good talking to you, Tom. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, if you want to read more about what he's talking about here, want to learn a lot, and you can learn a lot from Ron. RonSpomerOutdoors.com. Okay, we're open lines now. Anything you want to talk about. Guys walk in, open carrying their rifles into the restaurant. You're there with your family. What is your reaction?
I heard the click, click, click of her stiletto heels coming down the hall. And I caught her perfume before she opened the door to my office. And she stood there looking like $1,000,000 tax-free. I want to talk to you, she said. Come back later, I said. I'm listening to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk right now.
All right, we are open lines for you right now. If you'd like to call in, we'll talk about any kind of gun. Thinking about buying one? Sure, we'll talk about that. Thinking about maybe getting some training? Oh, I'd love to talk with you about that. 866-TALK-GUN or just dial Tom Talk Gun. One of the interesting things that happens, not a lot, but every now and then, it's happening right now over on Twitter. It's kind of fun. I actually had a guy some years ago. We were talking about self-defense and guns and things. And he says, so how many people have you killed? It's the old, let's get out the rulers and measure them deal. So just had a guy on Twitter said, yeah, how many gunfights have you been in? None. I didn't think the goal was to get into gunfights. I kind of like to avoid them if I can. So, how many times you been shot at? None. Didn't say that. I'm just a guy on radio, talks about this stuff, passes along. But I do hang out with people who've been there and done that, who have been shot at a lot and who have, in fact, shot an awful lot of people. Still doing it. If not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Yeah. Yes, there are people who are working for our government who are shooting people on a weekly basis, at least, right now, in some parts of the world. And I learn a lot from them because I get to go out to the range and kind of pick up little tidbits from them. And I try to pass along everything I can here. But look, here's the deal. And you know, I don't claim to be, a ninja. I was not a Ranger in SEAL Team Delta. So there you go. But I am happy to chat with you about this or that and the other thing about a gun that you have, the one you're thinking about buying. By the way, you all have permission to go buy one more gun. Only one. Only one more. There you go. Line 5, Paul's with us out of Reno, Nevada. Hey, Paul, thank you for your patience. What you got for your range report there, sir?
Hey, I got my American Predator Ruger rifle. I got into hunting late, just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Had some buddies take me out. So I went out and bought an American Ruger American, the Predator,
right.
6.5 Creedmoor.
Okay.
And I got a Leopold Mark III 3x9 on it. And I zeroed it in, 2 years ago. And real quick, but just yesterday I was out at the range with my buddy, and I zeroed it back in a little tighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shooting 200 yards and 4 rounds, because that's what the magazine holds. 3 of the rounds were touching, and the second round was a half inch away from the other 3. So about a 3/4 inch group at 200 yards.
From a fairly inexpensive rifle. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, the rifle was about $400, under 500 for sure, but close to 400.
Right.
And the scope is was about a $300 scope, I guess.
Right.
And I got the BCD dial on it. I sent it in with the stuff to Leopold, and they set it up for. I'm shooting the American Gunner, which is a low cost. Well, it's Hornady, and it's one of the least expensive bullets. It's about 70 cents a round to get on sale.
Basically, in your shooting groups that are a half an inch at 200 yards, when you can also go out and spend $4,000 on a rifle and $2,500 on a scope, and it'll still shoot about half an inch at 200 yards. That's pretty amazing. Well, so what's your plan with this rifle? What you going to do with it?
Oh, it's for hunting. That's what I bought it for. So
excellent.
I probably won't shoot again until hunting. But I did also. It has the BCD dial on it.
Mm-hmm.
I dialed up 400 and hit the steel up on the hill in the first shot. And I think I took another shot and hit the steel. Then I dialed 500 and hit the steel.
Okay, and I know you know this, but when you go hunting, the secret to that is to have a good a laser rangefinder.
Yes.
So that way, the deal is you've got to know exactly what the range is, and you can dial it in. Paul, congratulations. I got to keep moving here. We got Douglas on line 1 out of Vancouver, Washington. Douglas, talk about 6.5s. Talk to me here.
Yeah. You were talking about new cartridges being not really new and heavy for caliber bullets and so on.
Right.
Well, P.O. Ackley put out a book in the early 60s on all kinds of different cartridges, including...
hey, Douglas, if you've got a radio on in the background, you need to turn that off, if you would, please.
It's off.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, P.O. Ackley, the great experimenter, So what was this cartridge?
Well, he published a book. It's 2 volumes, and the set I have is leather-bound from early 60s, if I recall. Well, I love to read, and going through there, I came across a cartridge called the 6.5 Barnes QT.
Huh.
And, of course, Barnes being Fred Barnes, I assume.
Right.
And this thing had a 5.5-inch twist, and I'm not real certain, but if I recall, he listed the load for a 200-grain 6.5 bullet.
Holy cow.
And so was he about 60 years ahead of his time?
Well, Ackley was. I mean, I'm actually looking across the room here at my 2-volume set of P.O. Ackley, and so, but mine are not leather bound. Mine are paperbacks. But yes, he was 60 years ahead. And what's interesting though is that people even now, only in the last 3 or 4 years, Nosler legitimized the 280 Ackley improved cartridge. There have been several of the Ackley improved cartridges that have been legitimized under SAMI specs, and now they are factory cartridges. But it's for those who are really into this stuff, if you could get a copy of P.O. Ackley's 2-volume book, I think they would really enjoy it. It's just fun to kind of cruise through there. You're always learning stuff, aren't you?
Yes, with everything he says in there, he just doesn't describe the cartridge, the Wildcat, but he tells you something about it. And his 6.5 by 57, which actually termed the 260 AAR, and that stood for all-around rifle. That 260 will do just about anything you want it to do.
The only thing they didn't have back then, it kind of held them back, is in some of these cases, they didn't have the powders that we have today. We can do so much more with some of these cartridges with our modern powders, don't you think?
Yes, especially the insensitivity to heat.
Right.
And, there's a lot done there. But
exactly right. Well, look, I appreciate the heads up and reminder for folks. Take a look at, I think it's a handbook for shooters. Let's see, I'm trying to read all the way across the room there. For hand loaders and shooters, I think it is. I'll pull one out during the break here. Take a look at. Look, I got to run to the break here. I appreciate the call, sir. Joe, Richard, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you as soon as we come back. I'm Tom Gresham, 866-TALK-GUN, or call me at Tom Talk Gun. We're open lines. We're talking about guns.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
Since 1937, Ducks Unlimited has led the charge on wetlands and waterfowl conservation. Wetlands reduce the effects of flooding and recharge our drinking water, but perhaps most importantly, they allow us to experience what makes the outdoors so great. Band together to rescue our wetlands.
This is Ryan Gresham with Gun Talk. Visit guntalk.com/win to enter the Fall-A-Day giveaway for a chance to win the grand prize or one of 3 first prizes. The grand prize winner receives a Ruger Security 9 compact handgun and a Ruger American Hunter rifle in .308. A Liberty Safe Special Edition Colonial 23 with the 3-in-1 Flex interior. An ATN Thor LT 3 to 6 power thermal rifle scope. 3 cases of ammunition from Federal Premium. A prize pack of popular holsters from Alien Gear Holsters, including the Shapeshift Core Carry Pack. And the Mantis X10 Shooting Performance System. 3 first prize winners will receive the Alien Gear Holsters prize pack and the Mantis 10X Shooting Performance System. Enter now through December 13th at guntalk.com/win. That's guntalk.com/win.
Brownells.com is your home for all things firearms. Looking for a retro rifle? How about the BRN 180 or 180S? Named one of SHOT Show's best products of 2019. Visit Brownells.com for guns, ammo, reloading equipment, or anything you need to customize your firearm. And enjoy the industry's only guaranteed forever satisfaction policy. To stay up to date with the latest and best deals from Brownells, text BRN to 556-223.
Hey, when do you want to spot that burglar? When he's casing your home or after he's already in? Ask John. His Blink camera alerted him of burglars trying to break in while he and his family were home. Or Shannon, whose Blink camera caught a thief stealing packages. Both times, Blink video clips were sent to the police to help convict the crooks. Blink motion-activated indoor and outdoor cameras are wire-free, set up in minutes, and run on 2 lithium batteries that last up to 2 years. And when you're away, Blink's live feed option lets you monitor your home and check in on kids and pets from anywhere using your Blink smartphone app. No contracts, totally affordable. In fact, Blink systems start at just $79.99. Thanks to Blink, home security just got easier. Visit blinkprotect.com/guntalk. That's blinkprotect.com/guntalk gun talk. Also available on Amazon and at Best Buy. Blink is an Amazon company, and it works with Alexa. During the break, I was able to go dig out my copy of Volume 1, Volume 2, Handbook for Shooters and Reloaders by P.O. Ackley. If you are into guns, you may be able to find these things used, but they're not terribly expensive. You will learn so much just by cruising through them. I mean, if you really want to know about cartridges and bullets, and I mean, it's kind of dated now, but you can learn a lot. It's a cool 2-volume set of books, all right? Line 2, Joe, Jefferson, Texas. Open carry folks, what do you think? What's your reaction?
I think I know what's going on, Tom. I thought on it a little bit, and I'm thinking these provocateurs work for Eric Holder. And they're going in, provoking the people, looking like gun owners, because I just have a hard time believing people that I know that carry weapons would do something so foolish.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned it. I've actually had the thought that they are kind of a false flag operation, and they're out there to get the public riled up. You know, and even if that's not the case, the effect is the same. Whether they are actually working for the gun ban groups or they actually think of themselves as Second Amendment activists, the effect, I would argue, is that they are, in fact, working for the gun ban groups by turning the people off on the whole open carry thing. I mean, that's basically what you're saying, right?
Exactly. And we certainly know that those type tactics are not beneath the anti-gunners.
Oh, heavens no. Yeah, you know, they'll lie, cheat, steal, and do anything else. Now, here's a question for you. You're in Texas. You're sitting in a restaurant, and you see 3 dudes walking in carrying AKs. What's your reaction?
Putting my fork down and walking out. And I'm not saying anything to them. I'm just going below the radar and getting out of there.
Not only am I doing that, but I'm going to tell you, and this is where it's really people are going to really get upset about it. I'm calling 911 because I don't know what's going on, and I'm going to go let the folks wearing the uniforms and the body armor figure it out.
That's what they get paid to do.
You know, they'll see something, say something, and people say, "Oh, you know, you're actually going to call the police on open carry guys or gun guys?" Yep, I sure am, because I think, first of all, you're too stupid to be walking around in public with a gun. And secondly, I don't know if you're a good guy or a bad guy in this case. I can kind of figure it out if you're just walking in, and I've seen a lot of people open carrying pistols. That's fine. If you do, I would just offer, please get a retention holster, a good one. But the whole open carry rifle deal is counterproductive for preserving gun rights. It turns the public off. Richard, thank you so much for your call. I appreciate that. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Joe. Sorry. Now I need to go to Richard. Go to Richard on line 4 out of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Hey, Richard, I got a minute, so talk to me about the 22 WMR.
Yes, sir. First time listener, first time caller. I just wonder what your opinion was on a 22 Magnum semi-automatic as a personal defense weapon.
Do you have one?
No, but that was my second question, is how I might go about getting one.
Well, there are some on the market. Obviously, Kel-Tec has theirs. I believe it's the PMR 22. It's actually a pretty decent self-defense round. There's almost no recoil. Not a bad way to go. I mean, all things being equal, I would rather have a 9mm, but if that's what I have, I'm going to use it in the 22 WMR. Some of the ammo makers now are actually making self-defense ammo for the 22 Magnum. So they're designing the bullets and getting the thing set up so that it is an effective, round. So I would say this: if you think that's something that you would like to do, if you like that round, then by all means do it. The main thing is hits, and multiple hits. Here's the deal: handgun ammo is particularly non-effective at self-defense. That's why we train to shoot multiple times. Shoot until the threat is gone, until he turns around and runs away or falls down or whatever it is, or stops the attack. Shoot him a lot. 22 Magnum, not much recoil. You can put a lot of them into it. It's what it is. Shoot him until he thinks he ought to stop. Just thinking about all the classes I've taken at various gunfighting schools. Stig Academy, Shoot Right, Firearms Academy of Seattle, obviously Gunsight, been there a number of times. At Gunsight, I remember them saying, we would consider it to be that you have done very well. If you call here in 40 years and say, you know, I never had to use my gunfighting skills. Because what that would mean is that you have used your gunfight avoidance skills. And that would be a very good thing. So I'm not trying to chalk up a whole bunch of gunfights. I'm trying to chalk up a whole lot of not getting into gunfights. Just kind of random thoughts there. Let's see here. Mark's with us out of Hampton, Virginia on 5. Hey, Mark. Interesting stuff going on in Virginia these days.
Oh, yes, sir, Tom. Yeah, part of it was, while we lost, was they redistricted, and one of Obama's court appointees upheld the redistricting, and there was 30 Democrats running unopposed, which didn't help.
Right.
And I think also contributed, gun owners did not turn out. I work for a shipbuilding in Virginia, and one of the shops I'm in is probably 200 people, most of them gun owners. And I could just not get them to understand how serious it was. And they kept saying they can't take our guns, they can't do this. And I was at the meeting that the governor had sent out his cronies to have these little preemptive meetings throughout the year before the election. And his Homeland Security chief, Moran, said that House Bill 4021 would confiscate. And he made no bones about it, didn't twist and turn. He wasn't shy. He said it will confiscate all semi-automatic firearms, handguns, rifles, and shotguns. He made no bones about it. But just after they got done saying we didn't want to take your guns, he put that out there. He put the House bill and made no bones. And the legislature, tell people this. I said the NRA didn't say it.
The legislature is going to pass it, and the governor is going to sign it. It's just going to happen. There's no wondering what's going to happen now. You're going to get all of the very worst possible gun control laws that can be passed. It's all going to flow through that place like stuff through a goose.
Yep. And people just don't believe it, even now when I tell them and everything. And they say, well, I'll stand and fight them. I said, if you wouldn't take 3 minutes of your time now and then to send an email or do anything, I really don't believe you're going to stand at the door and commit suicide, because you're not going to win. I get, there's a point where you got to draw a line in the sand, and this is it. No more. I know I'm going to die, but I got to, stand for what I believe in. But if you can't take a few minutes of time out of your day here or there, a few dollars, and everything. But when it comes down to it, your life, I really don't believe you're going to do that.
I'm with you. Because I hear people say, well, they're not going to take my gun. I'll fight them. I'll shoot them. I'll go. Yeah, you know what? The goal is to not get to that point, because at that point, you're probably going to get killed. All right? Well, let's just say the goal would be, why don't we actually stand up and go to a meeting and talk to your buddies and send some money to the political candidates. You mean I got to get involved in politics? Yeah, because that's what happens. Here's the deal, and I appreciate your call, sir. I love that saying. It says, if you're not at the table, you are what is being served. If you're not participating in the activity, they are going to chew you up and spit you out and do things to you. So for those who say, I just don't want to get in politics, I don't do that kind of stuff, I don't give money to politicians, really? Well, you can sit there and feel all self-important and self-righteous over it, but you're not helping. You're actually hurting. And then, so here we are. I mean, you can send an email, you can make a phone call, you can do something. If you can't, Jim says, if you can't stand up, you can sit up for what you believe in. You can make a phone call, you can send an email, you can do something. Or you could be like Virginia. They just lost. They are about to find out how bad it can get, how quickly it can get really bad. It's really ugly. If you'd like to be a part of us, this after show thing we do, call me right now, 866-TALK-GUN. That'll get you in here. In the meantime, go out and do some shooting. Take somebody with you. Introduce them to shooting. That is your Second Amendment activism, and that's one that actually works. Be safe out there.